part of the other connection point there, disenchantment, disillusionment. I had written, I get it, but I don't have it. I'm restless because, there's a longing in me that seems to transcend the material world. I've tried to work hard, run hard, play hard, everything, and I can't find that. I didn't have language for Sehnsucht, at the time. I was just living with a longing that transcended the material world. So when I wrote, I was feeling some of that disillusionment and disenchantment. And I was telling somebody the other day, they said, why did you make a symphony out of the book? And I said, because first of all, I'm not that great of a writer, but I couldn't put into words that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, there is something that we are longing for universally that is just true. And if you are in a space where all of a sudden you can look at somebody who's very different from you and very different from you, and you go, you know what? We all feel that and we share that. There's something really special that happens and beautiful that happens. And I think music does that in a way that only music can do. So we made this symphony project. When we did the symphony, one of the thoughts that I had was, as a kid growing up, I want to look at a record album like I did as a kid with that wide wonder and just like imagination to go, I want to imagine the world as beautiful and good and true as it is. And so we reached out, we asked you to partner with us in the project. You made the cover art, which is right behind us, which is phenomenal. Yeah. And so when we went to record the symphony, we said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could have Constantine, obviously, is going to be there to compose it. We'll be there with our team, but wouldn't it be great if Josh could be there and we could just all experience it together? So we have not had time to debrief and talk about what happened, but what was that experience like for you, having thought about the themes of that piece and what we were hoping for in that piece and creating the visual art before hearing it, and then to actually be there and hear? What was that? What was the impact like for you?
Yeah, it's almost impossible to put into words. The idea of, like we've said a million times, recording a symphony in the modern age is insane in the best way, right? And so being able to be a part of that, something so crazy, the whole like, this plan is so crazy, it just might work. That's exactly how it feels. And being able to participate in that and share that moment with everyone was an unbelievable experience. From the artistic perspective, being able to listen to Constantine talk about his piece, we would text back and forth about certain themes, and I'd be drawing certain stuff, and he's like, hey, I'm trying to do this. And we had this back and forth about certain ideas. I would say what it feels like looking at my piece and then hearing the symphony is clearly my piece is just an appetizer and it's just an invitation. The feast of what has been created is the symphony, and it is way more than a person can ingest in one sitting. It's a thing that people have to listen to, like all good art and music, over and over and over again till it gets in you. But the piece grabs your attention in a way that the music fills out. And so listening to certain parts, I had visual cues from my piece, but then the way Constantine's music works would shatter the small symbolism I had and then do this thing that music can do where it's like it opens up you feelings, but there's no pictures for some of those feelings. So like if a picture's worth 1,000 words and a book is 65 pictures, then like a musical piece, I don't even know what that translates into language because it's a soul language. And so it's like I said, it's almost hard to put into words the feeling I had where there are certain movements in the piece. I'm not an emotional person. I think I've cried like 10 times in my life. And during certain pieces, I remember sitting there looking at Aislinn and my eyes are glassy and she's crying. And I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yes, beautiful.
And the first step in, I'm like in my mind, I think I'm understanding because Constantine and I have chatted and he sent me some like electronic versions of what's going on. And I drew the piece and I was trying to live in these 5-minute clips as much as I could. And then to hear the substance, you just think to yourself like, okay, this is a shadow. The symphony is the substance. And so, yeah, I don't know how to answer the feeling of it other than it felt like the joy that I had in being able to go and participate from a creative and creator perspective was one thing, and then it was just exponentially multiplied, being able to hear the piece in its fullness in that domain as well. That was a very rare space. And so, it was an untouchable feeling. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it. I think the piece seeks to do it justice. My art seeks to do it justice. But for everyone who's seen my art and likes it, the symphony takes every element and weaves it together in ways that art cannot do. I don't have the skill to do, and multiplies them. And when you live in that music, Aislinn recorded some pieces on her like video, and so we just listen to it at home still and be like, do you remember how good this is?
Yeah. Constantine did a remarkable job. Like, this is what I'm saying about there are people who are so gifted and they're so deeply rooted in faith traditions, in the Christian, in the body of Christ, that have so much to help us, to offer, to help us see like the incredible majesty of Christ and a reality that is at its center, like by him and for him all things were made. Like, and your piece just unfolds this reality that you're immersed in. When you're listening to the music, you're literally immersed in just a glimpse, a little longing for the thing. This is the whole point, right? It's an echo of a tune from somewhere that you recognize, but you haven't experienced it before. And one of my hopes for recording the piece was that, you know, in a good movie where you hear the soundtrack does a good job of taking the story and carrying it and you with it as an audience member and the cast, and everybody's moving towards these moments. I think in this moment that we're describing of disillusionment and disenchantment, my hope is that musical call can kind of invite people forward towards this like beauty and good and true, but not for the sake of itself, right? But because there's something beyond it that is substance. So you say like the visual piece is the shadow, this is the substance. I would take that even farther and say the piece itself is a substancy shadow right, of what's behind it. And I hope that it inspires more artists. Yeah. Because Constantine was very careful to say this is going to be tonal music, point, counterpoint. We're going to do this in a way that modern composition nobody's been asking for modern composition like this. Yeah. And he was so excited to write like this. And then I see like tonight, the art unveiling with Emily. She is a classically trained artist in the sense that her work is going to present something that maybe is in a modern art context, it would feel like it's from an older world, right?
Let's go.
Yeah. I hope the symphony inspires artists to make again and make like that.
I think that's so powerful. Like, I'm trying to reimagine, first off, getting to see and watch and listen to Constantine was amazing. From one artist, say, to another. But like you said, his is still a shadow of the substance to come. And that's what all good art is. But at the same time, all good art gives you new eyes to see. So Constantine, I tried the same thing. God gave me a vision of something, and I'm trying to use my art to help scales drop from someone's eyes. And Constantine with the music is trying to unplug your ears to the hidden music of the entire, like the music of the spheres. And so he does it. But when you get to listen to Constantine's hidden music, you think to yourself, this sounds strangely familiar, but it's not enough. It's like all good art. It's not enough. It's not enough. But I remember the conversations. Everyone's going out, and there were the paid or more full-time artists who were like amped up. Well, then you just ask someone else, anyone on the team, like, hey, what did you think about the piece? And they start talking about all their creative endeavors because it woke something up in them that was like, well, I want to make as well. I want to create as my creator has. Yeah. And that's what good art does, is it invites you into this creative space that transcends we were talking about before we started recording, just like the total work culture. It's this creative space of like, I just want to do what's good and true and beautiful. and let everything else take care of itself.